Hi, and welcome to our 26th podcast of Keen Minds covering NBC's Blacklist Redemption. And we are covering episode 4 called Operation Davenport.
Yes, and we're halfway through Redemption. This was the fourth episode. I'm Jen, aka Takata Saiko.
And I am Tessa from Criminal Minds, Criminally Sane, actually. I'm
Always
getting
go
so
for the
confused.
episode.
Yeah, that's it.
When you've had a cold for like 3 weeks straight, I think we'll give you a little slip
Thank
there.
you, a pass. Yeah, you can still hear it in my voice. It's not that I eat frogs. Not even they have hallucinogenic kinds. But I do sound like I have like 10 in my throat. And talking about this episode, did you like it?
I loved it. Yes. I mean the whole thing. I feel like I know on the Kevin Jennings episode, I felt like their intro was a bit long, and it kind of threw me off on that episode. I feel like the last two episodes they've done very well, very much Blacklist-esque, where they have the very short, they have a lot of information, and they get you everything you need in a very short intro scene before the credits. And I really liked how they set this one up. It was good.
I noticed the thing that struck me the most about this episode, besides all the great actual episode and the canon, was the fact that this is a very, very well balanced show. In almost every episode, all characters get significant time.
Yes,
And significant, good scenes, chewy scenes.
I've noticed that too. The writers have been fantastic on it. I mean, they're very balanced. I mean, yes, Scotty and Tom are the leads, but you see a lot from Solomon, a lot from Nez. We got a lot more Dumont this time. That scene between Dumont and Nez just left me wanting more. But yeah, I mean, they just have done a phenomenal job with that, and the Blacklist is hit and miss on theirs. I feel like some episodes they balance very well, and other episodes it's like, well, that was very, insert character here heavy. Okay, and they tend to focus in on
It's a story.
Yeah, if they know that it's going to be in a ROM heavy episode, a ROM will have like little to nothing to do with the episode before that. Which is fine, and that may make sense for a longer show, but we have
bigger cast.
Yeah, bigger cast, longer show, but we have 8 episodes in Redemption. They've got to get. I mean, they have super layered characters with deep build to them, and they've got to get all of that laid out, and they've done very well with it. I mean, every scene makes me want to know a little bit more about them, and which is obviously you don't want a scene that goes, I don't care about I don't care about that guy's angry millennial brother, I don't want to know why they don't speak anymore. I don't care. No, you want to go, holy crap, what happened between them? When did Flynn think he outsmarted him before? I want to know all these stories. I want to know why Nez was so upset over this. Does she have siblings? Does she have connections to her military brothers? Like what? She obviously has some sort of brother there. That's good. That's how writing should be, is make you want more. And they do that perfectly.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's but it's I think because the Blacklist is also very heavy on mythology. There is a bigger arc, and there is so many layers happening. It's impossible that they do that, because they tend to go for depth rather than width. When they go into a character, like Mako Tanida was all about wrestler. Even in season 3, when Liz is on the run 3A, it's all about wrestler. Wrestler was in almost every scene. It was very, very deep, and that's what they do with all the episodes. You get very heavy Aram episode, very heavy Samar episodes. So I think that it just doesn't lend itself as Redemption does.
And like I said, it's a difference between 4 seasons plus however many more seasons they get, and 8 episodes. I mean, I don't think that they're going to turn down a second season if they're handed it, but I also don't think that they really came into this going with the first and foremost goal being more than one season of redemption. I think, and this has been my theory.
You've been a theory of yours.
Yeah, it's been my ongoing theory for quite a while, and as more comes out, as Bokenkamp speaks more, as different things come out, nothing has really dissuaded me of this, and I honestly have just kind of burrowed in deeper into it with things that are said, that it's an arc. It's a way to tell a story, that it's a way to tell Tom's story without overshadowing their main characters, Liz and Red, on the main show. Yeah. And so I think that was the point of doing this. And yeah, hey, if they can carry a spinoff and make the franchise more money, they're not going to turn that down.
No,
but
I think that would be. I think they would be aiming towards a 16 episode season divided in 2 as they're doing now, or maybe they would divide it in 3 and basically fill every single gap of Blacklist except for the summer with Redemption, which would be great because I hate gaps.
I do too. I mean, and the only thing that makes me sad about that is I know that Ryan made a comment the other day that he doesn't think he'll be back on the main show until like the last episode or 2, and I'm like, no, you've gotten me spoiled now. But
if they do 2 seasons, I think they will be easier to plan ahead.
That's true.
They will get better at planning ahead. And I also think that in a way, the King story was told already. I think that we got what they came for. We got the Kings. And the Kings, I think, are telling a very, very important part of the mythology of the Blacklist. And, most of that was told. I think that when Megan got pregnant, something that was going to be told over the course of more seasons, they just got compressed and pushed down into season 3. Because I think part of the Kings was to get an Agnes. And once we got an Agnes, that the whole story repeating itself was being told. But once we got Redemption, once we got Agnes, then Redemption was kind of like, this is the next place we're going to go. And I've said it a long time ago that Red's list included people that could not be got by the FBI, or now that we know that he also has a similar arrangement with MI6, God knows with how many others, but he needed a paramilitary operation to take some of those, and I think that getting his son-in-law in there was just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, especially when all the questions get answered about his parents and all the dust settles. I mean, poor Red is over there thinking that Dimbay has poisoned him, so I doubt he's paying a bit of attention to what's going on with Tom Keen at this moment, which is probably in Tom's favor.
Yeah, I think so, but I think that also it's interesting how we live the Blacklist with basically a father thinking his son betrayed him and going to redemption when a son is trying to find out what is going on with his parents. So it's very much in the family.
Oh, and the Blacklist is a family show. It's all about family. On some level or another, adopted family, biological family, the friends that are so close with their family. I mean, there are so many different types of family in the Blacklist, and that's one of the things I love about it. That's one of the things that draws me to it.
Mm-hmm. It's a family love story. It explores basically, there is not a single kind of love that has not been explored on the Blacklist. And I found interesting that as we go into this episode, Scotty's reaction on betrayal of the country are so strong.
Yeah, which is interesting because, and we'll get down to this when we talk about Tom, but the man that supposedly had no, avoids principles at all costs, got pretty irritable about that as well. I think his FBI husband status was showing just a little in this last episode.
I think...
Let's start in with Scotty.
Yes, let's do Scotty. very interesting stuff for Scotty. I mean, I gotta say, I am in awe of Famke. I wasn't that, the full disclosure, I wasn't that big a fan of her. When this started, I liked her. She was good. But I gotta say, I mean, she's really got me to be a big fan of hers.
Yeah, I mean, I liked her really well out of the X-Men series. That's where I knew her from. I mean, this may sound a little shallow, but like, I mean, she's an incredibly attractive woman. She brings in a lot of guys. I mean, like, there are a lot of guys with huge crushes on Famke, which
Hmm.
is fine. She's gorgeous. I mean, if I were a guy, I'd probably have a crush on her too.
Hey,
Um,
as a woman in my 50s, I love seeing a gorgeous woman in her 50s,
there you go.
kicking ass.
I wish I looked that good now, and I'm 30. And so,
Oh, you and me, sister. Yeah,
but
she's gorgeous, and she's at the same time vulnerable and incredibly strong. So it's a very appealing character.
she pulls it off so well. Like, if I were to look at a character description and see that, I would kind of squint at it and go, "Are you kidding me? That you sounds like you're trying to hit all the high points without you're going to be all
Mm.
over the place there." She pulls it off, and I never would have thought that until seeing it play down the screen. And I doubt there are very many actresses that can
Could
pull it
pull
off
that, yeah.
quite like she does. So it was very well casted.
And it's interesting because as I first said that she's going to be like the female Red, I thought, that's going to be a cheap imitation. And it isn't. She is like the female Red without being a carbon copy. It's not like, they took Red and they made her female. So Red with a womb is, no.
Gender swap.
Yeah, no, she's a very different kind of vulnerable. Well, Red is not vulnerable at all. Red is very much, derives his power from sheer intellect power and being
Yeah.
able to be. He's unflipped about anything. He can take anything and work with it. Famke is vulnerable and strong, and at the same time ruthless, and can say, "Hey, I need psychotherapy pills," and people like you.
Oh. So let's move. I know it's off in
Um,
our notes, but let's talk about Trevor because that's so tightly linked with Scotty. So the whole Trevor thing, the fact that she's willing to confide in him, I mean, how smart do you think that is? As the head of a massive intelligence organization, it depends on what she's confiding in him. I would assume she's not confiding national secrets to him, but
I think it's just personal things, but even then, either she knows that Trevor is an agent for somebody, or she's genuinely left. The way she spoke about Howard, both are the funeral and personally to Tom, and the way she was looking at that picture of them from a wedding anniversary, let me know that she truly loved Howard. And I think she was in the 4 years last year that they had been basically strange. I think that she was literally very sad and missing him enormously. So I think that it makes a sense that that's going to be her weakness. Everybody's going to have a weakness.
yeah. Do you trust Trevor?
Oh, hell no. He is so much an agent for Howard, because think about it. Howard knows exactly where she's going. And how is that going to be? Because she's not telling the detective everything that she's going to do or say or feel. I think that Trevor was put there because Howard would know exactly what she would go for and put him right on his way. And I don't think that Kat is either trustworthy. Kat is
Really?
working for somebody else. Oh, yay.
Oh, see, I
She's
trust
working
Kat. I actually do trust Kat. I think she's kind of stupid right now because I mean, she's smitten with Trevor, and I feel like she should know better. It's one of those sweetheart.
Or
Really,
is she admitted, or is she actually find a way to know what Scotty is saying?
and it's possible, but I I kind of
She
get
was wearing a plaid
the
suit a plaid dress the other day.
yeah. But they were also talking about his medication when she was,
Hmm.
which is something that's kind of iffy. Now
Yeah.
with Kat, my impression of Kat, and I don't know if this is the impression that they just want me to have, and so I have it, which happens sometimes, or if this is really her.
Silly blonde.
I just don't know. No, I just don't know enough about her yet to know for sure if the first reaction is the correct one. I feel like she's an incredibly intelligent person, or else she wouldn't be working for Scotty. She wouldn't have worked with the company as long as it sounds like she has.
Hmm.
But she's intimidated. I think that she's incredibly intimidated by Scotty. I think she almost hero worships Scotty. I think that she's her mentor, that she respects her greatly, and she wants to help her in any way she can. That's the reason she canceled a personal date of hers,
Hmm.
so that the guy could go sleep with Scotty and give her a chance to vent her frustrations.
Mm.
I like Kat. I think she's a little
Did you notice that
I
she
think
had
she's out of her
canceled?
league. I think
She
she's
had.
I think she's out of
You,
her league.
you think that? I think that she canceled that date before she knew that Scotty hadn't found. Before she officially found out that Scotty had not found uh, Christopher.
Well, either way, she canceled it for Scotty so that
For
she could
Scotty, yes.
either rejoice in it or be sad in it, whichever route it took. She gave up her personal date with the guy so the
Hmm.
guy could go hop into bed with Scotty and alleviate tension or be
Hmm.
there to listen to and celebrate with her. I mean, that's kind of intense. I mean, if she's on the up and up,
Hmm.
and that's with the Blacklist, you always kind of have to approach it with if this character's being honest.
Hmm.
But currently, the way I see Kat is that she very much respects Scotty. She very much wants to be like Scotty, but she's just.
Mm.
I think she may be a little bit too honest for the organization.
Talking about that, what do you think made Scotty immediately pull Solomon out of an incredibly important mission to go chase? What was about the fact that, because it couldn't have been that Tom had a secret source. Everybody got secret sources that don't want to give up.
Absolutely. And I mean, it could have been a source from prior to working for her, which it probably would have been, because that just didn't want to be in the middle of Halcyon, which would make sense. There have got to
Hmm.
be tons of secret sources that she doesn't know the names of, and she's just going to have to be okay with that. And no, I'm right there with you. I don't know yet what it was that tipped her off, but there's something about the fact that he knew that name coming in that
Yeah,
tipped
that it
her
was
off.
it knew about, because they already knew Brian Mayhew was involved in the whole thing because he was one of the escapees.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the fact that Tom comes in, immediately gives out that information at the same time that they have just dug that out, that makes me think that Brian Mayhew may have been involved with Howard or fake Howard. I there's something in that whole thing. Or maybe she's just very good at reading people, and Tom came out as cagey, and she thought, hey, there's something here. I mean,
Yeah.
if like mother, like son. I mean, she didn't get there by being unable to read people.
There was this great. I was working on a gift set this morning, and there was this great scene when Solomon calls her to say, that he'd found him and that he was hiding something. And when she hangs up the phone right before she walks out of the hotel room, she gets this kind of look on her face. I went, oh my gosh, that's an entirely Tom sort of look. Just that kind of head tilt and shaking the head and frustrated and
Hmm.
I can't wait to go find one of those looks from Tom and put them together on Tumblr. That's my goal for after we finish recording the podcast today.
That I found this episode very, very much interesting in terms of the things that we found out about Scotty. The way she was reacting with the fake Phelps. What did you think about that?
um, I don't think she caught on to that they were fake.
Mm-mm,
I
not
think
at
she
all.
was completely in
Like
her.
like Tom,
yeah,
overwhelmed with emotion,
oh yeah, and poor
unable to
Thomas as
read.
well. And I mean, as soon as she walked in and sat down with them, I went into it very skeptical of them, because you've got Tom, who has been described and who's been shown in the show as having never known love before Liz. And so he lived with these people between the ages of 4 and 14, so 10 years in that home, and never felt loved. There's something wrong there. They could have been hired to bring him in. They could have been just terrible people. They could have just not had a clue how to handle a kid like him with all the issues, and just
Like
not.
Cyprus agency.
Yeah, exactly. And just, I mean, but honestly, with it being the Blacklist, that's probably the least likely, is that it's something less evil. I have a feeling he went through quite a bit of emotional and maybe even physical abuse within that home over the years. So I went into it not trusting Frank and Eva Phelps. And so when she sat down with them and started talking to them, I'm like, they are hiding something. And they bring out this picture of this little brown-eyed boy, and I'm going,
That's not him.
And,
well, I came in thinking that they were fake Phelps. As soon as she opened the door and we see this apparently Norma family in an apparently wealthy area, and they are like, we were told the mother was an addict. They couldn't have been told the mother was an addict, because basically they didn't know. The boy didn't even know his last name. He just appeared there and nobody knew. If they had known the mother was an addict, they would have known the boy's last name. But they didn't.
Maybe.
So that to me was like, this is not being, this is not above board. Something is being hidden here.
Yeah.
And they were like too normal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I said when I saw their photo for the behind the scenes photo. I think Allie Blacklist over on Tumblr put it out. And I said, they just look so normal. I said, this, with everything that we know, reading between the lines of Tom Keene and his past, they wouldn't be that normal. He didn't have a normal life. There's a reason that he wants that normal life with Liz. It's because he's never really had it. And so the
major even said, I'm not surprised that you stole that. I'm surprised you didn't steal more, considering your foster situation.
Yeah. And
so something there was not right.
One of these things just doesn't belong there.
Exactly. It's like one of those little. So, but I found that when she's sitting there and she's crying, thinking of the boy, and she's trying so hard to not be, normal Scotty. She's trying to be, like soft. And I know Jacob is his name. He's like, she's not trying to take anything from them. She's not trying to take the name that they gave her son. It's such a level of vulnerability that I am now finding extremely hard to believe that she's not the real Scotty.
This episode definitely has flipped me over to trust Scotty a whole lot more than Howard. I've started trusting her a lot more.
Well, I mean, think about it. We have seen her alone signing the death certificate. You could have said, well, she was in Alcyon, so maybe there were eyes. We've seen her in her home looking at the pictures of Kevin's birthday, of Kevin's riding a bicycle. We've seen her looking at pictures of Howard and trying to find a good one for the funeral. We have seen her alone, looking over and all these things that have happened away from the public eye, that we have seen that she's truly torn about Christopher. So I don't think that is not her son. Maybe she's not the real Scotty. Maybe she went in there with an agenda. But I'm trusting her more than Howard, because Howard is displaying zero emotion.
The thing is, it's with Scotty, we were given that so early. In the Blacklist, it's never that clear. there are always so many twists and turns. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really, more and more, I don't think she's fake. Yeah, she probably has a whole lot of secrets. There was a leak,
Mm-hmm.
I guess yesterday or day before, that said something about, when all these unknown family secrets come to light or something like that. I was like, I think
Mm-hmm.
there are probably a lot of secrets about this family we don't even know that we don't know, that are going to
Mm-hmm.
come out of seemingly left field for the audience and for Tom, and he's just going to be like, really? You know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
can we not have a little bit of something normal? It's like, this poor guy. You've got Katerina Rostova is his mother-in-law, who is maybe dead, maybe not. You don't know,
A
but
master spy for
yeah,
sure.
master spy. And then you had what Liz thought was her father and Tom's father-in-law, Alexander Kirk,
Who
who
tried to kill him?
who tried to kill him multiple times, who kidnapped his wife and daughter, who held his daughter away from them. It just, and then
Who
the
was
real,
going to jump off a roof with his daughter?
exactly. And then you've got Red, who is whatever he is, father-in-law by, if nothing else, acting it, and he's Raymond Reddington. And then you've got his folks, who are Crazy Howard and super
Hey,
secretive Scotty.
they're making, and the funny thing is, I've remarked this over and over, how Tom seems to trust Red implicitly more than Liz ever does. He's like, oh, no, 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 I can't go to Scotty because Red said that if I did, I would never find that. But Liz is like, well, I don't think you have no choice. So it's interesting how underneath all that, there is a little something about Tom being able to trust Red. And I wonder if he still remembers from when he was a child that he trusted his father.
Yeah, I do. One of my pet theories that I love is the idea of Red and Howard having been good friends when little Christopher was there in the house, and Red having met little Chris. I mean, like, that just, I think I've mentioned it before that I've got a headcanon that I want to work into some story
Mhm.
somewhere where Red gives Christopher a little red boat, because everything seems to be a red boat everywhere throughout the
Mhm.
Blacklist. Gives him a little red boat, to play with, because he loves the ocean, and Red wanted to be a
Like the
captain.
one, like the little one that had the big guy in the woods skinning people. Matthew, the secret son of Jeff Pearl. He had a little red boat that
Oh,
he
did
played
he?
with in his tub with a little totem pole.
I'd forgotten about that, but yeah,
Yeah.
something along those lines. I would love for Tom to come across something and be like, why does this seem, why does this seem so familiar? And Red be like, oh, I know that. It'd be fantastic for me. Like, between
Hmm.
that and Tom and Liz as small children playing on the beach, I would just be so happy.
I was rewatching the whole thing yesterday, and I came across again and I was watching it on high resolution this time, and I came across that birthday party. I think two of those girls are Liz and Jennifer.
I hope so. It'd be fantastic. It would tie in so nicely. Okay, so we've got Scotty and trusting her more. Do y- I am terrified that Howard's a baddie. And Tessa and I were discussing this before we started recording today. I am okay with Howard being a pod person as long as the real Howard is somewhere being, pumped for information or something, and they end up getting the real Howard back. Because poor Tom, even if it's kind of better late than never sort of situation, the man needs a father in his life. Not a father-in-law, a father. I just, yeah, he needs his mom in his life, but good grief. The only father figure he's really had was Bud McCready, and that's such a terrible example. And so I desperately want him to have a dad. And so if Howard really is, fake or something like that, because it matches up. I mean, there were multiple times that that fake Howard could have become fake Howard.
Yeah,
The
in
plane
the actually in this,
crash.
yeah.
I mean, he could have been replaced with the plane crash. He could have been replaced 4 years ago when he started, going crazy.
Acting weird, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple periods, and what better way to throw someone off of that and try to get them to... And I've thought about it before, the fact that he is basically taking Scotty's long-lost son, whom she has been looking for, and secretly turning him against her. That's cruel. I mean, that's
in
really
the way he's doing it kind of makes sense. He's a terrible person. But I found interesting that there is all these things that he's saying that don't make any sense. For example, he keeps insisting that Scotty is not real Scotty, yet he talks about Christopher being her son, Tom being her son. But if she's a fake Scotty, then she's not anybody's mother.
Yeah.
So why is he getting all confused with that? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just becoming, more and more apparent that, however trustworthy he is, because we're geared to distrust Scotty because of Red saying that, she's manipulative and untrustworthy. I think that there is something, and also because, do you realize that you found your long lost son, and you have not even inquired, how are you? Are you okay? Talk to me about your child. I have a grandchild. Most people get crazy when they hear about a grandchild. Scotty was like holding that little baby, like, oh my God, I could imagine this being my grandchild, and it's just be like,
without even knowing Agnes was her grandchild, she was still, there was just that instinct there. And that's one of the things, I get out in the park when he first found him. I understand that because he was like, satellites, they're watching me, let me get my tin hat.
Mm-hmm.
But, I understand not wanting to show that physical, to hug him, and maybe even out of a respect over this guy doesn't know me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But are you going to tell me that when they're in the apartment, away from everybody, away from the potentially prying eyes, when they're talking about this, he doesn't, not once does he seem to care that Tom is in full freak-out mode, that these people, these terrible people from his past, are about to come crashing back down into his present. Because not only is this his cover on the line, but what if the Phelpses, they probably have a lot of bad things on him. He was pretty delinquent in his youth. There's just a lot there, not to mention the emotional baggage there that he's probably buried so deep that's now crashing back to the forefront.
Yeah, he's doing the blinking hard, every
so
5 seconds when he's with Howard. And I also find interesting because the more it contrasts, for example, Red, which, whatever you believe, he's the biological father. He acts like a father to Liz, so I'm just going to call him a father. He is, when he gets out of Kirk's clutches, the first thing he wants to do is he wants to go hug Liz and hug his grandchild.
Exactly.
Pick up his grandchild. It's exactly the same thing that Scotty did. Is the first thing they want to do is to hold that child and either imagine or just bask in the fact that they have a grandchild. And Howard does not even have a picture of Agnes. He has pictures of Tom up until 2015 when he comes back from Dresden, but no recent pictures, which lets me know that for me, it was just about finding, and I think that maybe that is the time where Howard was exchanged, or when Howard, maybe stopped looking, or he was not okay, because otherwise you would have kept recording it. It's just a natural thing. You would have wanting pictures of your son. You would have kept taking pictures of him.
Okay, here's a thought. What if Howard was the real Howard up until a replacement happened around the end of season 1's finale? Because Tom was thought dead for 4 months while he was in the boat. And then some, and then probably a couple months more until he showed up in the, to try to clear Liz's name in the Tom Keene episode. And so what if what if the real Howard found the link to Jacob
Mm-hmm.
and then basically thought, my son's dead. You know, what if Scotty was part of the reason that he disappeared, and then Howard found all that? That would be a reason to cut it all off. To get angry at Scotty, you know, several years ago, to change, and then somewhere in there, the fake Howard takes over, and that's why you have pictures from that period.
Or they let him be until he found Tom, because Tom was essential to their plan. Tom was a way to then get fake Howard, who never knew Howard, installed in Alcyon, and then have Tom kill Scotty. Then they get, basically a Russian operative in charge of a large intelligence gathering operations, which is one of the largest U.S. private military contractors. And then they kill Tom in an accident. Accidents happen. And then you have basically Alcyon in the hands of a Russian operative. And that would be just scary.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's so many possibilities there. And so, like I said, I'm okay with that as long as the real Howard is still alive. Because it does make a lot of sense, because he's just been, and I've said this before, that he's reacting like a handler, not like a father. He reminds me a great deal of McCready right now. It's not, this is my son that I've been missing, that I've been looking for all these years. This is Tom Keene, who is useful to me. Yeah. You know, and it's killing me a little inside, because it's just going to cement even more that idea into Tom that people can only love him if he's useful.
You notice also that he has not even once called him or tried to call him Christopher.
I have, yeah. And that's, to me, that's very bizarre. And so I feel like,
even if he's trying to be respectful.
Exactly. It's that's if you've been looking for your, I mean, Scotty did with the fake Phelpses. I mean, Christopher, I mean Jacob. I mean, that's what a parent does. You call them by their name that you gave them, that you've been calling them all these years, whether they've been there or not. And so, it just, yeah, there are so many questions with Howard. And it would make, because I've said before that I feel like the way that they're forming him up with how crazy he seems to be, I don't know how they're gonna fix that. And so if he's a fake Howard, that would make more sense to me.
Yeah, he has to appear crazy because he can make a lot of sense. Some of the things that they're never gonna get everything right. I mean, that replacement program is something that you can do for a long time will not work. It will not work until because there are people who know that. And that is something that we have seen with Scotty. Scotty has Kevin's mother. She has people, I mean, Red recognizes her. So it's impossible for them to do that on a long-term basis. That's something you said when we covered Independence. But it is easy to do if anybody else is dead, or, then you have a big thing like, oh my God, he was, his wife is killed and everybody's killed. And then, that he's going to be a little loopy.
Everyone close that could look at him and say, there's something weird going on here is gone, and so only people that would know him at a distance.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they're gearing to do, because now Tom has never met the real Howard. He has no idea to know if he only knows he looks like Howard, which is exactly what the pop people were supposed to do, right down to tattoos and everything.
But is there anything? I was going to say, they could have Howard, they could have the real Howard stored away somewhere for information.
For intelligence, because you wouldn't kill him.
Yeah, that would make sense. Keep him, hold him, and then it may be, because there was that behind the scenes that came out, I think, on Ryan's Twitter a couple days ago, with him just beat to hell on a rooftop with Howard. And so I'm wondering if it's going to come out that he's fake, and maybe the last episode is he and Scott
rescuing Howard.
Yeah.
I also, because obviously there is a point in which they seem to be together, because they seem Howard and they're odds on each other. So it seems like at one point they get together. It's a very, very interesting situation, because I mean, it's the 8 episodes. It makes such a big difference. Do you got any more on Howard?
No, that's most of what I've got on him. There's a lot of questions.
Shall we go into Pretty Boy?
Oh, Solomon. Matthias. I have such a crush on that man. Eddie.
That scene
Oh.
with them.
Oh my gosh. I can't. Oh, I love
I had to
this
watch
man.
it 3 times because I was laughing so hard I couldn't hear them.
Oh, I know. I've watched it so many times. I can't even express. And I gift it. That was my first gift set that I put out Friday morning. And I just love sitting there and watching it because it's just so funny because you've got this poor cop that's the partner who's just sitting there looking at Tom like, shut up.
Yeah, the whole thing was perfection. I mean, the two cops are like, oh, no. I'm not getting involved in this.
So bad for them.
And then, like Solomon appealing to the black cop and everybody's like, oh, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. It's like, I'm out of here.
And the lady cop, I love it. What was it? You fellas have a good day. She's just like, I'm done. You people are crazy. I love them.
And I love, didn't you love the line about you have no black artists, and then Tom started naming the rainbow, and the rainbow got none of the colors of the rainbow actually are there.
I said,
and then what is Tupac's middle name? And it was just priceless. I mean, and it's great because they take something that is such on the forefront of our nation in this moment and makes it into this. I mean, not any the less poignant, but so humorous moment because it was just perfect. It was a perfect thing to get the cop away from there as fast as possible.
And on a, it was so amazing. I love that scene. That could be my favorite scene ever.
Didn't you love like Tom is telling Solomon what to do? Like he's wearing the jumpsuit, so Solomon puts it on. Then one of the guy had grabbed a tool, and he has a tool in his hands, and he's fixing the. Oh, it was. I mean, they worked so well together.
They did. They worked fantastic together, and
Solomon is like pushing the gun into the under the sink.
Like the unconscious people all around, and they were so in sync with each other for the fact that it kind of looked like Tom was setting him up. Just love it.
Yeah, it was just perfect. I think it's like that's what good undercover ops do. They do that, and it remind me a little bit of that scene, that I always said that's what it was between Red and Carla when she feeds him the line about the miserable housewife, and then he goes with it. So I think that a good operatives are they're good about working together. They get those lines and they feed off each other, and it was just perfect. It was just perfect.
And I loved the scene directly before it too. When they were taking those guys out. I'm a big fan of very well choreographed fight scenes. I'm not talking about like an hour-long fight scene. That's kind of boring to me. But like real close in hand-to-hand combat, fast, well choreographed. I love that stuff. And Eddie and
it was
Brian,
a classic too.
Oh,
you get a two, no, I'm behind you, no, I'm behind you. It was a classic. I mean, they make those so many times, and this was great because it was so dramatic, and then going into that humorous second scene was just perfect.
It flowed so well. It was so perfect, and
we found that Solomon is awesome at hand-to-hand combat too.
Yeah, because usually he keeps his distance. That was something I found very interesting. And it's not that he needs to keep his distance, it's that he chooses to. And I kind of he's always so funny with like when there's blood, he's got his handkerchief out and wiping it off and stuff. So, I don't think he really prefers getting his hands dirty, but he's not above that. He'll do it,
Yeah.
If the situation calls for it, he'll do it.
Yeah, whether he's a chain, a bunch of bowls, or just beating somebody up with his bare hands, he's good at it.
Yeah, and I also found it interesting, and I know that you had commented that it sounded like all of them were delivered back. I don't know, because they never specified that they were delivered back alive.
Well, they said 3 back in custody.
Yeah, well...
Not 3 recovered. but 3 back in
It
custody.
sure looked like he broke one of those guys' neck. I mean, he certainly twisted hard, and the guy went down really hard.
Mm.
But I mean, because I gift the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I did a set on Tumblr with the individual guys. So I mean, I've got like 1 or 2 seconds gifs. So I saw each individual frame for those, and it really looked like he broke that guy's neck. And it was interesting juxtaposing Solomon breaking the guy's neck and Tom suffocating, not suffocating, but like, knocking him out by suffocation. And the difference in approach there. Because, I mean, obviously Tom has never had a great deal of problem with killing people when he needs to. He's got quite a list behind him of quite a few dead bodies in his trail. But since Agnes has been born, it's that moment when he was... When he had the guy and he found Agnes watching him at the end of season 3. Since that point, I have seen a small, very subtle change in Tom where his go-to was not killing. He will. He will do it if that's what it takes to, but that's not his immediate go-to. If he can do something to knock the person out, he will. And I think it's an interesting and very, very subtle shift that they've made with his character.
I thought that they were alive because they said they've been apprehended. They're back in custody. I don't think that they would refer us back in custody for a corpse, but it may have been that they filmed several scenes and then they kept the best fight scene and then they put the ones in which they kept them alive. Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal, but
no.
It was very interesting. And Solomon also had this interesting thing, how he is absolutely loyal. And that is a very important thing. And his first loyalty is to Scotty. I mean, he has no problems in following Tom or reporting on Tom. And the reaction of Scotty when she finds that out is very interesting. She was just beginning to relax with Trevor and immediately just leaves the envelope in the night table and leaves.
And just a small prediction I have for next episode, because we get the plane episode next episode. That's what that adorable little girl that we saw the interview for. Did you see that when it was going around the internet?
Oh yeah,
the pigtail girl that crying and everything. She was so cute. Oh my gosh. And that's this coming episode this next week. But there's from the preview for next week for the clip. It looked like
the girl that is supposed to be crying.
Yeah. It looked like Solomon was going out getting pulled out the door there. And so I bet you that Tom's going to save his life, and that's what's going to keep them on the steady for the last, for a couple episodes. And so, but I also think that there's a really good chance that Solomon and Tom are going to come head to head at some point.
Yeah, I found interesting what they said that he reaches out to an unlikely ally, and it can be Ness because Ness will be a likely ally. It can be Liz because Liz obviously will be a likely ally. So it's either somebody on the post office or it's even Solomon.
Maybe I went with Nez. Nez was my go-to for that because of her loyalties to Howard.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting relationship they're setting up between those 3 guys and Dumont. But the 3 actual operatives that are in the field that depend on one another are, it's certainly very interesting because Tom has that line, enemy combatant and all that. It's Solomon certainly is a very interesting character to explore, and they've set him up so well. And the moment they made him to be about loyalty, they set up a redemption for him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I'm waiting for the shoe to drop to find out more about his past, because we're gonna get an episode soon that just info drops on us. Because like I said, halfway through, we're gonna have to have something soon on him that's real deep on that. And so, what parallel were you?
Oh, how actually you made it. The We have Scotty setting
Oh
Solomon
yeah.
to go on Tom.
Yeah, the fact that you can parallel that to the beginning of the Blacklist with Wrestler basically spying on Liz because they didn't trust Liz coming in, which I mean it made sense. I mean, and fourth on the America's Most Wanted comes in and says, "I will only speak to Elizabeth Keene." You know, who the
I will
hell
be
is
following her.
yeah,
Yeah.
who the hell is Elizabeth Keene? Yeah, of course you don't trust her coming in. I mean, that was pretty normal, but you've got the same thing with, and I'm gonna eventually make a gift set of it. With Wrestler walking in with Howard and saying, or not Howard, with Harold, and saying, you know, Elizabeth Keene's been lying to us or whatever. I don't remember verbatim the quote,
Hmm.
but where he puts
Hmm.
down the ballistics
You were
report.
right. Elizabeth has been hiding something from
Yeah,
us.
that's it. And then you've got Solomon in there, and he says, I don't know what it is yet, but Tom Keene doesn't want us to know, or something like that. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not. We're recording this in the morning. I've not had enough coffee for my verbatim quotes yet.
I did. I'm an hour ahead, so I'm fully caffeinated. Um, do you have anything more on Solomon, or should we go on Ness?
Let's go to Nez. It's I really want to know how she's Like, I feel like that's gonna come to a point with her drug use. I did love that comment that Scotty made to, I think his name was Jack,
Mm-hmm.
that ran the security firm.
Mm-hmm.
She said,
Mm-hmm.
"How much did your honor go for?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think that paralleled very nicely with the fact that Nez refused to give up anything from her job to pay for the drugs. Like, yes, she's going down a slippery slope, but she's not crossed that line, and she was very adamant about not crossing that. And as worried as I am for her, that means a lot right there.
Mm.
That she's not willing to compromise her honor for this.
Mm. It's an interesting parallel too, because we're getting also shades of wrestler who also was getting the pain down with drugs, and she was obviously clean because Howard had been there and helping her. And the moment Howard is missing and supposed dead, is she's back in there. I also find interesting that she must have another way. Either they're setting her up so eventually she does compromise the job, or they're setting her up for what is he doing with the money? Because an operative in there, their salary is at least on six figures.
Yeah,
These are not people paid cheaply. One of these gets 6 or 7 figures easily.
yeah, she should have enough money to buy
Plenty
her
money for
drugs.
whatever. So there is something else that she's supporting. I would not be surprised if there is a child, if there is, that she's supporting a former uh, um, um, military unit
Mm-hmm.
person that is,
Some form of
a
family.
disabled. Yeah,
Yeah, some form of
something that
family.
she's supporting, because she should not have that kind of problems with money. I mean, you can see that the way she's dressed, it's like this is a person who had money. She's not cheaply dressed. She's not. So obviously, there's something that her money's going for, and it's that she's not even willing to let go to feed her habit.
Yeah. And I like that parallel. I like that being brought to the forefront there. And I do wonder if it's going to come to a point sometime in the field within the next couple episodes in which something happens that her drug habit, either she's high in the field or she's starting to go through withdrawals in the field, what have you, but it puts either Solomon or Tom in a very compromising position. Because I don't think it'll be putting her in a position. I think it'll be putting one of her partners in that.
Like Wrestler did
Yeah, and
in in
if it's Tom, it'll be really interesting to see if they kind of parallel him with his dad, and he's the one that helps bring her back down.
Well, if they're going for a parallel, I think it would be him, because we're getting wrestler parallels with that. So, and Liz supported wrestler she didn't rat him out, which is what she had to do if she had been following the rules. She basically supported and trusted him that he could eventually drop that on his own.
And he did. And he did.
Yeah.
And I think that Nez will as well. I have a friend that likes Nez real well over on Tumblr, and she said, well, I just hope they don't kill her in an overdose. I said, I don't think I don't see that happening. That actually had never crossed my mind, because you don't build a character like her up. And, like, coming from a storytelling point of view, what's the point of that? What's the point of just killing her off from an overdose? That's... I mean,
no,
yeah,
they're just going to get her.
If this were just just a normal drama on TV where they're just going for your emotions, okay, maybe, but they're very purposeful on everything they do on this show. And so, no, it's gonna come into the forefront, but I don't think it'll cost her life. At least not like that. But I'm very interested in the route they're taking with this.
I think that eventually she's going to get cleaned up, and she will be instrumental in getting the real Howard out of whatever hole he's in, because it would be a very important thing for her to do, because then I think it would go a long way towards making her kick the habit that she's not anymore indebted to Howard, because I think that for anybody it's not a good place to be. Yeah. Being indebted to someone.
Yeah, and I think it would be very interesting to see her form that bond with Howard's son, form a very similar bond like she did with Howard. There are so many routes this could take that would be just fascinating on the character development level.
And we get to Tom.
Dumont.
Oh, Dumont.
We haven't gone. Yes. Okay, so... I loved all of that. Adrian's he's amazing. But I feel like with that conversation that he and Nez, she was just so distraught over the idea that a brother could so easily betray another brother. And so it makes, going back to what you said over, you think that she's supporting someone. It could be a biological brother that she has, some sort of sibling, or someone that, someone from her unit when she was in the Middle East, when she was fighting, and, that has become her sibling, because they fought together, and it was so interesting to see, because that loyalty means so much to her, and that's like we were talking about with Solomon, that pulls in for the viewer, that endears.
Value loyalty above
the loyalty endears.
Else.
Yeah.
Yep,
exactly.
And it's a running theme of the Blacklist. Is loyalty is a very important thing.
It is. And so I really want to know more about Dumont's brother. I really want to know about why Nez had that reaction. The whole thing fascinated me, and it makes me want to know more about the characters.
That scene with the brother was very interesting, because Dumont was, obviously very reluctant to talk about. Obviously, he had not even said that his brother was a hacker, or any of that. Basically, he's a hacker on the bad side. He's anti-government, and he's working for the government. Well, not for the government, but for a private contractor sanctioned by the government. So there is a whole level there that Dumont is also keeping secrets from everybody, and obviously it seemed like Dumont was the happy brother, or the beloved brother, and then not anymore.
Well, he's also Flynn was his half brother, because he said your dad was right. Yeah. Or, your father was right. Your father, your dad, whichever. But it was your, not our. And so it sounds like it was a half-brother.
Yep. So. It's a very interesting situation, and I think it was a great scene, because it's, Dumont is not really showing much emotion when he's with him, but when he's taking out those the little box in the car, you can see that there is, a regret there, a
lot of pain. There's
loss,
that his brother has. This isn't the first time. He said he's nothing if not predictable, And so he's done this before. He screwed him over before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's done that before, and so this is nothing new. He knew. I don't think Dumont thought when he walked in there, he knew he was going to turn him down, and the whole point was manipulating him to make that
That
call.
was, yeah. So because he already had that in, and he already had that set up. So there was something in that whole scene that was, painful, but it's like, I guess you gotta get hard if you have to survive in that kind of thing. So there was pain, and he was using that pain to manipulate his brother into doing what he wanted him to do, which was to simply betray him, give him the opportunity to betray him one more time, and use that betrayal for some good.
Yeah, and so I mean, he gave him the chance to do to be loyal to him, and obviously Flynn didn't care,
Nope.
and so.
Which I think it's leads us to Tom.
Yes. Okay. One thing that really stuck out to me was back in season 3, I guess it was 3A, when Tom and Wrestler were buckled down in the cabin fighting the Cabal.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the comment, and as Solomon and his people are trying to shoot him, on the outside, he says, "Principles are a bitch, man. I avoid them at all costs." And at the time, it was like, maybe-ish. Like, I think that he would have liked to think he did. But, I mean, Tom had his own set of principles that he lived by. He did.
Of course, otherwise he wouldn't be avoiding them. He wouldn't even have them.
Yeah.
You can't avoid what you don't have.
That's fair. But I think that he has really come into his own with certain principles. And I think becoming a father and just really getting settled in himself, where he's accepted, because he spent so many years not accepting himself. He hid under various masks, under various personas. I think he's accepted himself as he is now. And, he's so many things, and he's coming to terms with this, and that's part of going and learning about his folks and such now, and his family. But because of that, he's kind of developed some principles that he's okay with having. And I love the comment said, "Oh, so in addition to your charming personality, you are also an enemy combatant." And so, I mean, there was a little bit of judgment there, By a little bit, I do mean a lot, And so you've got that paralleled with Scotty's comment about honor, and how. But I also think that some of it's the fact that, his wife works for the FBI. So there's a little bit of that seeps in, I think, over time, in which, not saying particularly that her morals become his, but, he loves her, he respects her, and so,
I don't have the same outlook about this as you do.
Okay, where are you coming from?
I think that because that I've always had this feel that Tom, and we have learned some of this, that Tom has always been a good guy. We see this. You did a hard link like Tom did just now. I think that I'm coming from Tom has always been one of the good guys. Tom may not have been able to tell Liz everything because he may have been bound by honor not to, or by promise. He may have said the same, or he may have said something to Liz that we just haven't learned yet. But I think that Tom has been doing jobs for the government, and is a reason why his identity has been like Teflon. Nothing sticks to Tom Keen. Tom Keen is suspect in a murder. Wiped. Tom Keen is now presumed dead, but tied to Berlin case. Basically a terrorist. Wiped down. I'm going to get a job at a school. I mean, we're not talking about I'm just going to get a job as a CEO of a company. I'm going to get a job teaching kids that get, to get background checks. So there is something in all this that is telling me I think that Tom has always had principles. His principles go by another book than Wrestler because he's never been really a cop. He's always been intelligent. So I think that he's always had them. You know, he has to go against them in order to bring a mission. But I have a feeling that this is not the first time he has done that, and we found out when he was in Rabat with Anna Copeland trying to get Leland Bray out. Now we've seen a bunch of other things, and maybe we thought, oh, he's shady, he's doing them for Berlin, or maybe he wasn't just doing them from the government. I mean, we have no idea. Ever found out what happened to Victor Fokin in the Courier? Who killed him and why? It's something that we have no idea. And so I don't know. I think that there is something to what you are saying that I see. I see that being with Liz. I definitely see that being a father has altered his outlook on what is acceptable and what is not. He's definitely more. He will be willing to sacrifice a mission to save a child or a person. That is something that I think the old Tom King would never have done. He would have been like Red. In fact, that's that lovely scene that they cut, and I keep bringing back. I'm like, this is like my motive is they cut that scene that I wanted so bad, where when Red is telling him that he compromised a mission, so he's no longer the operative that he used to be, and I think that there is something to that. So that was my take. Is like, yes, he had principle. He obviously is a patriot. I mean, he was very offended by the fact that there is this operative that is this contract that is supposed to bring national security, and instead he's being that. And he was the one who took that phone. Without that phone, they would have had any way of proving anything.
Yeah, I would like to point out that I thought it was a little absurd that as Jack's walking out, he answers it, calls the guy by his name, and, like, he's not even out of the room yet, and is talking to this guy that would implement him. Like, I get why it happened, but I kind of wish he'd been out of the room or something like that, you know?
I think
like,
he was supposed to be speaking, like, super low.
I know, but still, like, you don't call the person by their name. Not if it's the thing that'll implement you in prison.
I would have toned down and say, hey, don't call me back. And then,
exactly.
the phone would have been enough. I think that was an overkill.
Yeah, I was just like, you deserve to go to prison.
Yeah, for stupidity. Terminal stupidity.
I mean, it happens on TV shows, I know, but I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, I also think that there was a level of the guy was a jerk, and he was like so self-assured. It was like, yeah. You deserve to go down badly by stupidity.
I just love how he's like, what, do you expect me to apologize now? It's like, you're a jerk. Go to prison.
Yeah. I love that line that she has, give him Mayhew's wholesale the black side. I hear is a prime spot for traders.
I would like to point out also that I'm not sure how Mayhew got to walk, because he did orchestrate a prison break that got people killed, including the guards there, and several other really bad people. Even if Mayhew wasn't really a bad person, his prison break got a lot of other people out. I mean, and he
I'm
also
sure
nearly
that the NSA now has him in or even maybe working for Scotty. I mean, he gave them a much more important trader, so I think that you make deals. It's what you do,
and maybe that's what happened. But I mean, I kind of wish they had said something or alluded to it, because it felt like he just walked free, and I'm going, he nearly killed the guy that had the key. He orchestrated all of it. I mean, there's so much that he did, and I'm just like, I get that, I have no problem with him going free as long as they, like you said, like there was something, if he's working for Halcyon now, and Halcyon basically was going, we'll vouch for this guy. I'm cool with that.
We've seen it done over and over. I mean, we saw Elise. I mean, and you knew that the second that Elise was taking in, she was going to go on and for another agency. They said, like, do you think they're going to let a prodigy like me run in a cell? They were
Yeah,
fighting for me.
I don't get the feeling that Mayhew would just go work for the government, though. I mean, he's kind of against the
Yeah,
the
but
spy
maybe
state. Is he for
for
Halcyon
Scotty.
maybe? Uh, but yeah. So I back to Tom on all of this. I feel horrible for him right now because he really is caught between the two parents or the potential parents. As it
The
stands.
pod people.
The pod people. I love Solomon's comment about that. The pod people.
Mm-hmm.
But it just it would have cut down on I'm back to Howard with it would have cut down on so much stress for him, and it wouldn't have cost Howard anything to go, I've got the Phelps situation covered. I have someone on the inside. It's taken care of. Instead, he just kept bypassing it like it didn't matter. I mean, and that's we've seen Red do that with Liz before, and it's been a constant complaint of mine that he does that at times. And Liz made the comment to him once. She goes, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that it's a valid thing that you're saying, and that it's a national security threat, and I accept
that was with Karakurt.
Yeah, she said, but I want you to look at what's happening in my life and what you have brought to my doorstep, and I want you to accept that this is important to me. And that's kind of how I felt with Tom and the Phelpses in this. That yes, Whitehall is potentially important. Yes, this whole case is important. Yes, that's important. He's aware of that. He knows what the stakes are. But the fact that Howard just refuses to accept or refuses to acknowledge to him that these emotions that are being dragged forward on him are important, that makes me very skeptical of him, because like we've said, you know, he's been looking for him for nearly 30 years. So why couldn't he just, I mean, it's not like it would have compromised the mission to go, I've got this covered. Even if he didn't tell him how he had it covered, just, and I understand for the sake of the show, they couldn't do that because they needed Tom nervous and everything. But from a character standpoint, it wouldn't have cost him anything. And so that makes me very skeptical of him.
There is a definite lack of empathy for the well-being, which is, we could make the argument, as you said, that Red has done this. You know, like, no, this is not important, but tell me, it's my life. Why is Tommy my life? You know, and he's like, no, that's not important. That's not important. So yes, there's something that a parent who is focused on something immediate and dangerous might not focus on. But there is a level of concern in Red for Liz's well-being, even though he sends her in all these crazy missions. But he always has a confidence in his abilities to keep her safe, which Howard has none. The only thing is manage a thread of Scotty finding things out by providing fake Phelps.
Yeah.
That's all he has done, but nothing to make her feel better. It just doesn't speak parental to me.
Yeah.
And I think that Tom, I mean, when Tom is sitting at the park bench the last time, and when he gives them the information on Brian Mayhew, I mean, Tom is doing so many blinks. It's like, it's not even like he's like hard blink.
Yeah. And he's so frustrated. And when he looks back and realizes Howard's just gone without a word, he gets this really frustrated sigh that he does. It's just like, I can't even process this right now sort of look, you know? He's just so upset with him for doing that. And he's so frustrated in that last scene. You know, this guy works for you? And they're like, yeah, duh. And there was something about the way that the PI said, I've heard a lot about you. Mm-hmm. It's like, I just didn't trust it, you know?
Yeah, well, I called that he knew who Tom was the second that Tom walks in that office. Says, he knows. He knows who Tom is. And the fact that he was keeping quiet about it. Plus, he was wearing a plaid shirt, as was Howard.
there's something about it. Maybe he's connected to maybe if Howard's fake, he's connected to the fake Howard versus connected to the real Howard, and he's someone on the inside. He's a handler, maybe someone to help him. I don't know, but there was something about it. He was looking at him like, I know all these secrets about the situation, and boy, are you getting duped. You know,
Yeah.
that was kind of the tone he had, and Tom's just like,
Yeah.
holy crap, what do I do with this?
It's also the strange thing that he does is that they never tell him. I mean, and nobody is saying, why do you don't have anything recent? It's like the investigation into finding him, stopped in 2015 after he came back from Dresden. There is nothing else on that. That I find very, very bizarre, that he would have had no interest in what happened to his wife. There is nothing on Liz's exoneration, on being a fugitive. There is nothing, a picture of Tom when he's delivering character, and there were like cameras on him. There's nothing on the since 2015 on about Tom. So that tells me no, something is there going on, that this is not real Howard, and fake, and detective is on it too.
Yeah. I don't trust the PI. I really don't trust Howard at this point, which breaks my heart because, like I've said, the estranged father-son relationship and the coming back together of that is my thing. I love that trope, and we'll see. I hope if he's fake Howard, that real Howard's still alive. Go save real Howard.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a great place for the series to end when they break out Howard to get a second season?
Oh gosh.
So the next season is, real Howard and real Scotty and the first family reunion.
Oh.
Come over for dinner.
I could see them ending that. I mean, because I feel like that would be a place where they could do a second season from, or they could work it in subtly into the Blacklist. Because they talked about in an interview, I think Famke mentioned it, that their contracts are written in such a way that crossovers are expected. You know, basically that she can go over to the Blacklist and vice versa. And I really do think that they're going to wrap this back into the main story, and that they just needed a few episodes to flesh this out. If they had done this on the main show, one, it would have taken a lot longer because they would have been trying to balance this other story with the main story, and two, it would have ended up overshadowing, and which they can't do because Tom is not the lead in the main show. And so
and it is a lot of waste of James Spader's time too, because you're paying James Spader for not being there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like you're just going to switch male leads in the middle of your show. So this to me seems like why they did it. Now, I mean, if they get a second season, sweet. I'm sure they'll figure out how to work that. But
I think they will work it out in a way that we will see at the end when the Blacklist ends, that all the cases that they've been working in Redemption are linked to the whole Blacklist thing.
I agree.
And then leaving them chance, so when the Blacklist is wrapped up, they can continue going on, with a different agenda, maybe like Tom is the New Red.
Yeah. I did find it interesting that Howard almost played the Red type role in this last episode. That as Tom's pressing for stuff about his personal life, he turns around and hands him the Blacklister. And it's like, I need to shut you up. Here, have a bad guy.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and it will be a very interesting thing to have a reunion of Red with Howard.
I want that. I need that. Like, my fangirl heart needs this.
That would be amazing to see. Like, I would love to see the family reunion. Like, like because I mean, at one point, if you get the real Howard and Scotty knows that Tom is her son, you're gonna have. I mean, she's gonna want to go and pick up Agnes, and this time know that is her
Oh
granddaughter.
yeah, and that's like I know something came out the other day about, well, if there is a season 2, what's that going to mean for Tom and Liz because of the different. I really do. I mean, do you think that Scotty is going to want to spend time if she knows that she has a granddaughter in DC? Is she really? She'll probably pick Halcyon up and move it to DC to be closer to her grandbaby.
I am
She's going to go
surprised.
full on grandma mode.
I am surprised that they haven't had an event happening in Washington that makes it imperative to move the post office to Manhattan.
And
that would make sense. It would make life so much easier for these guys because then they wouldn't have to make it believe that it's Washington. It could just be Manhattan.
Yeah, I have no idea why they set that up. I'm sure it made sense to them at some point when they first started, and then now it's like, well, but I'm just like, why did you not just set this in New York? It's not like the FBI doesn't have a massive presence in New York. And I think that may be why they made Halcyon's headquarters New York, even though they obviously have a huge presence in DC as well, because I didn't get the impression in season 3 that they were bouncing back and forth between New York and DC. I got the impression they were basing everything out of DC.
Yeah, because in fact, I think that big house that Scotty has is in DC.
Yeah, I think it is as well. And I think it's also a personal home as well. I think it has a lot of offices, but it looked like a personal home as well.
Yeah. So it would be easier even to move everything to the one place. Although, I mean, even if Tom were backing and forth, I'm sure that he can get a helicopter ride, that will put him in DC in 35 minutes.
Yeah. The son of the owners of Halcyon can make it back and forth. It'll be fine. Yeah. I'm not worried about what that means for Tom and Liz, with the exception of not seeing them together as much because of filming.
And there is another scene that I'm looking forward. Scotty meeting the daughter-in-law. Oops, I am so sorry that I tried to abduct you, and I'm so sorry that and Solomon saying, "Hey, we're good, right?" No, we're not.
Liz just punches him, throws a chair at him, Was it I think it was all about the Blacklist on Tumblr. She made a post. It said Liz's weapon of choice, furniture, because she keeps hitting people with furniture.
Oh yeah. Oh, she uses furniture really good.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I can imagine that reunion. It's like that Scotty's gonna want to go and see his, and it's like, can you imagine the stories? Yeah, when you were a baby, like Liz making the second video. Hi, Agnes, and this is your grandmother who tried to abduct me when I was pregnant, and this is your Uncle Solomon who run a car into us.
No, and never Uncle Solomon.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I can see it. I can just see it happening.
Oh gosh.
The videos for baby Agnes are going to be priceless.
And here's her dad wondering if we've screwed our little baby up. How badly we've destroyed her. Oh gosh. There are so many possibilities for where this could go.
I have a question for you. Howard mentions, or fake Howard, just Howard, mentions that he hired a former intelligence agency to look into Whitehall and he disappeared. Do you think that's somebody we have seen in the main show, or that we have heard in the main show, that former intelligence agency that disappeared and didn't report on Howard's investigation into Whitehall?
I don't know. It might tie back with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking?
I'm not thinking anybody, because I can't place anybody who's been a former intelligence agency that had been reported disappearing. So I can't really tell, but certainly it's intriguing that I think that this would have been not really, because it says a former intelligence agency, that leads to being, if it really is a Russian fake, This must have been the fake that they sent to try to find Whitehall when they got a lead to it, and failing that, they launched this extreme elaborate plan, in my view, to get Tom to hand them Whitehall, because I think the Russians cannot find Whitehall on their own.
Yeah. It's definitely something to think about. It'll be interesting.
Keep your eye out for missing former intelligence agencies.
Well, I think that about wraps us up. Do you have anything else to add?
I do not. I am so looking forward to the next episode.
I am. It's the plane episode with the adorable little child that did get the spot. I'm so excited for her.
By the way, it looks like somebody actually gets out of that plane flying.
What do you mean?
In the episode of the plane, I think somebody actually falls over the plane.
It certainly looks like it. It looked like Solomon.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he doesn't have a parachute on. I mean...
Well, he has the chair.
Oh, you know what? We've got two guys... You saw the behind-the-scenes thing with the two guys stuck in the tree with parachutes. They're going out of that plane next week. And apparently one of them's going to be half naked. So... I just gotta know what's causing that.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So that whoever it was, because if they had the chair, they had that, or maybe one of them falls after with a parachute to catch him.
That's true. You could have someone, yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be...
Yeah, and that will definitely put a thing on Solomon, because now he would owe his life to both Scotty and Tom.
Yeah, and I think that I think Tom's going to have to save Solomon's life to be able to put them on even ground for the next couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, Solomon will have to return the favor before he can go back to spying on him for Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Interesting stuff.
Oh,
and with that, I think we can wrap this one up.
Yeah.
I hope you join us back next week for our next episode, which will be the 5th. Oh my God, we're going fast in this series.
Yep. It'll be over before we know it.
Mm.
But you can catch us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. And if you'd like to leave a comment, because we love comments, we love chattering with you guys, we are on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. So we hope to see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.